Right, let's look at these Axis pedals. So, quick history, Axis have been around since 1990. And they're one of the first pedals, apart from the Ludwig Speed King, obviously, to have direct drive, which is instead of a chain or a strap here, they have ball bearings and an aluminium joint connecting rod. So it creates a much faster response compared to chain or strap drives. And that's what really set them apart. And that's why a lot of death metal and black metal drummers in the early 90s and stuff absolutely loved these because of the response from them. You know, Derek Rodder used to say, you know, couldn't get these sorts of speeds on chain drives and stuff like that. So it just gives you that little bit of an edge. But at the same time, they also are a very different beast from, you know, Cobras and DWs and stuff like that. And they feel different, and you have to approach them slightly differently as well. And a lot of people got a bit disconcerted by that when they bought them, expecting they could fly on them, and then realizing you actually have to control them as well and still have to play normally. So I've been using these since about 2007. Bought my first set on eBay, secondhand. And I just picked up this set recently as a backup pair. And I always wanted a black pair because black is cool, obviously. So I've just bought a heap of upgraded spare parts from Axis. Over the years, they've changed a heap of little quirks and things on here that people weren't happy with since about 2020 or something like that, when Zed Amarin took over. So the biggest thing and the most important thing, I think, is the heel blocks. They upgraded the heel blocks, so these have ball bearings in them now, because they used to fail quite a lot. They just used to have bushings in them, and one would snap, or you get a bit of slop in there and stuff. So the new ones have ball bearings in them and are super smooth, which is awesome. So that's a really, really big upgrade there. So that I've gone through and replaced all them. They also have changed springs. You can get micro tuners. I don't have them. I still have the original ones here. They've also upgraded the drive shafts, which a lot of people had problems with, but I will show you how to set that up so you don't have problems with it. But the first thing is I'll run through my settings so you know what I usually set them up like. So the biggest thing is the variable drive lever, which can be loosened off and slid back and forward like that. And that gives you a completely different feel on the pedal. So all the way forward is much slower, but a lot easier to control because there's a slower movement and control is much, much easier there. Of course, me being the idiot that I am, I have it on the absolute hardest setting, which is super, super hard to control because it's like incredibly sensitive now. The movement from here versus the amount of movement from here is like super, super different from when you have it up here. So it's much slower, much less movement, as you can see. So you have it back there. You get a lot more swing, a lot more stuff. But that means that these mid-tempos, slower stuff, so much more control you have to, so it's just a practice thing. So that allows me to get some super high speeds for the session work I need to do, but in return I have to practice a lot more at mid-tempos and slow tempos to make sure that I can play tightly in these settings. So variable drive lever all the way back. Spring tension here, I think I have it, so I loosen that right off. So the wing nut there is touching the bottom, and then I do one full turn, 2, 3, 47, I think. 47 full turns, and then I lock the top nut in down there. So it's 47 turns from loose all the way there. VDL lever all the way back. And then I do something a bit different. I find the heaviest wood beaters I can find, and I add beater weights as well. So that makes playing fast a lot harder because you're moving way more mass. So there's a lot more practice involved in getting higher speeds with all this weight up here. But what I love about this is it creates a really heavy, smooth swing in the top of the pedal. So slower speeds and stuff, it's really smooths the pedal out and just gives it a nicer overall feel, I think. So I sacrifice speed for consistency and tone and stuff as well, because the weight of these hitting the bass drum, every hit is way more consistent than a lighter beater, because you've got to swing exactly the same every time to get it to move. So that's what I do for that. It took a long time to get used to that, but I'm really happy that I did put in the hours and make this a lot more consistent. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how I set these up in a double pedal configuration. I'm going to put this on here, make sure you can all see. Let me just check that. Yep. All right. So double pedal configuration. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to set these up like two single pedals. So you're going to loosen these off, get these exactly the same angle. You're going to get the same beater, spring tension, same VDL drive. So everything looks like identical two single pedals. Then, of course, you've got your connection here for the double pedal, which is just two Allen keys there, Allen key bolts. And here's your drive shaft. Now the trick with the drive shaft is all the ball bearings in here always need a little bit of lube. So I'm just using lanolin anti-corrosion lubricant. Don't use WD-40 because that actually cleans out the grease. So you get it sprayed in there and just rotate that like that. So it really gets in there, both sides. Spend a few minutes just rotating it like that. You can spin it like that, whatever. All right, so once that's done, I'll take the beater out of this side and I'll put it in the double pedal attachment. Make sure it's at the same height. I'll just lock that off. Right, now the trick is here, a lot of people put this on and then try and adjust from this end. You don't ever touch that. Once that's set up the same as this, you never touch that. It stays the same. The trick is to put your double pedal connection on. So put that up there, like that. Whoops, I got lanolin on my hands. Like that, and lock it off. Now when you're putting these on, just make sure that they are on the flat of here, like that. Sometimes you can put them on in a hurry and like it will not be quite flat. So just give it a wiggle like that as you tighten it up. Okay, now it's tight. So in the middle here, this is all loose. So this can go like that. So what you're going to do now is get that lined up there and just lightly get that lined up like that. Perfect. Now, this has two Allen keys, bolts underneath. So before you tighten this and clamp down on it, you go and tighten these up super tight, like that. And then the other one there. Can be a bit fiddly to do if it's on the kit, so I suggest taking it off. All right, and then crank that down. See, now that's all perfectly lined up. They're tight, they're tight. That's got 3 points of like grip on it, so it won't slip. And that's the trick with that. Lots of people say, oh, the round ones slip. No, you just have to make sure you tighten all three of them super tight. This is still identical setup, same level as that one. And now you've got a double pedal and the beaters line up perfectly. So never touch this. Don't worry about that. Now, the other thing is I do with double pedals is Axis actually have the option to put a spring in here on another attachment and have a spring there. I don't worry about that because that's just more fiddling around you got when you try and disassemble it after a gig every night. So you have the spring on this side, that's plenty. So spring on that side, no spring on this side, so it's two separate pedals, put that on, give it a wiggle to make sure, and I'll just mark it with a bit of tape or an arrow, so I know that one lines up with the top bolt there, and then tighten them off, and then you're good to go. So that's how you adjust the Axis pedals without changing the angles and levels of separate pedals. So everything stays identical. So the feel stays the same. Perfect. All right, now E-kits, which are these little triggery boys there. That little hammer comes down and strikes the box there, which runs out to the triggers and fires a bass drum signal, which you can use for live or studio or whatever. The trick with E-kits is you never over tighten them here. So where's my little Allen key? Let me grab this off here. Shouldn't have used black ones, hey? So you can see you got a little Allen key there. So that's always kind of loose, so you can move it around as you need it. So you can just slide it and then just nip it up a little bit, so it's got a little bit of flex in there. Now, when you're setting this up for a gig or whatever, I'll loosen that right off. I will, let me put this back here. I'll grab this again. So just say this is on the bass drum and you're about to play a show. So this is completely loose there. I'll put my foot on this so it's hitting the bass drum. Then I will tighten this up with this on the bass drum. So every time you play a show, that is now calibrated to the bass drum. So when it comes back, it'll come up, come down. So if you leave that and don't tighten it or adjust it, and you're going from your own kit, which might have deeper rims or might be at a different angle or different head tension, if you do that and all of a sudden your bass drum's pedal's going further forward, you're going to put a ton of pressure on this and you're going to snap it. Because that's only, underneath there is only like a little wire and a little spring, right? So every time you play a show or something, it's just the same as, adjusting your cymbals or adjusting your snare height. You adjust your kick trigger. So that goes there, and then you line that up, and you tighten it up. Perfect. So that fires every single time. Very important to do. I have never, since 2007, I have never broken an E-kit. I've worn down the vinyl hammer point on there, but I've never snapped one of them for that reason. You just got to set it up and calibrate it right. So that's that. People have mentioned that on this one here, when you're playing, the E-kit would come back up and hit the cross member here. I've never had that problem. I don't think I'm ever swinging back that far. So unfortunately I can't help you there. I have heard of people who have cut out a little groove there. If that suits or that works, go for it. Just file out a little groove there, make a mark and file out a little groove to near where it hits. So basically that's how I set up all my pedals, why I use heavy beaters, how to adjust for a double pedal, and how to make sure everything locks tightly and doesn't slip on these. If there's anything I've missed, let me know. But that's about it. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.